Was that important part? Remote participation due to emergency circumstances. It doesn't appear that we have any remote participation due to remote or to emergency circumstances. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you. And we'll move on then to item number 4, public comment. It did look like we had one member of the public on the Zoom call, so I will open this to public comment.
I do not see any public comments in the chat.
Thank you, Josephine. With that, I will go ahead and close public comment.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 5. Do I have a motion to approve the Citizens Advisory Committee minutes of January 8th of 2025?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Ivan. Josephine, if you would do the honors.
Chair Ford,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dinan,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
and Member Ruse.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have a 4-0 vote. The motion passes for consent.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you.
With that, we will go ahead and move on to item number 6. And we're going to go ahead and make a slight adjustment here. There's been a request to move item D to A for Bike Month. So with that, I will turn it over to Jean.
Great. Thank you so much.
Jean, if I could ask you to just hold for one moment while
Sure,
Josie catches up to PowerPoint.
Got it. Okay, next slide, Josie. So we annually do a bike month challenge through our Stannis Cruise Transportation Demand Management Program. And the bike month is generally in May. That's when it's the official bike month is May. So from May 1st to 31st, we will be again doing our bike month challenge. We're going to do it a little bit different this year. We're going to do it through our own app, which is the Stannis Cruise app, and run it all through there. You can record your trips, and you have a great chance to win a $1,500 e-bike and gift cards and great things like that. The other thing we're going to do with the contest this year is we're not going to make it so stringent. So really anybody that just goes in and logs their trips and makes the effort to get out there and ride is going to be eligible for these prizes. It won't be based on how long you've ridden. Are you riding 25 miles? No, you could ride 2 miles a couple times a week and still qualify for some of the great prizes. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that we're going to have a grand prize of a $1,500 e-bike. We've done that in the last couple of years, and people really like that quite a bit. So we decided just to go ahead and do it again. We'll have an early bird prize, and that will be for anyone that signs up before May 1st. Will have a chance to win that early bird prize, and it's an individual race with yourself, so that you're not really competing with other people. You're competing with yourself. There'll be weekly gift drawings, and we've contributed through our Stannis Cruise program money, as well as our partner Agile Mile has put some money forward as well. So there'll be a lot of great prizes this year. Next slide. So from May 31st to 31st, you record your bike trips to work, school, or around town. Each bike trip you record will show up on the leaderboard. Record at least 2 bike trips each week to qualify the weekly gift card prizes. The time frames are from May 1st to 7, May 8th through 14th, and May 22 to 28. Any Stannis Cruise member who records at least 10 trips during May 31st will be entered to win the grand prize of a new e-bike. Next slide. So that does it. It's a brief presentation, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions? No. So I just want to say that I'm actually kind of looking forward to this one. I really appreciate the work that's been done. Previously, when I worked in the city of Patterson, biking from Modesto to Patterson was a little unrealistic, but now my daily commute is 0.8 miles. So I definitely plan on taking advantage of Bike Month this year, and I'm just glad that it continues on, and hopefully we'll get more people involved. So I
Great.
personally really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and then with that, we'll go ahead and, Josephine, do I call the next one as B then, which is A? Matter? All right. All right, thank you. With that, so I will go ahead and move on to item number A then. Blake, is that yours?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had a small problem with my microphone. Next slide, please, Josie. Also, I see you didn't fall for my April Fool's Day joke of reading the long title that was on the agenda, but I tried. Anyway, this is the federal fiscal year 2027 to 2030 funding round guidelines and that we are asking for your recommendation to the policy board to adopt. Last month, we circulated the draft guidelines, and this is after a long outreach period over about 6 months with 3 different workshops with our various stakeholder agencies. I'd like to get into a bit more detail here, and we'll look through these guidelines together. Next slide, please, Josie. So this funding round includes 2 federal programs, 2 of our biggest federal programs that are very popular in this area. The first is the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, or CMAQ. The second, Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, or STBG. CMAQ is the main federal fund out there for reducing emissions and improving air quality. Big surprise given the name of the program. This program funds projects that are located in non-attainment areas for air quality standards, much like the Central Valley. And these projects have to show a reduction in emissions from whatever they are today. The STBG program is one of the most flexible funding sources out there for transportation, can be used on almost anything. There are a few terms and conditions that apply there, but it is extremely flexible, very popular with our local agencies. Next slide, please. So after the 3 workshops that we held with our agencies, we received feedback that said, we want to do a 4-year call for projects. So this fund estimate encompasses funding for federal fiscal years 27, 28, 29, 30, as well as any unprogrammed carryover funding from previous years. That gives us a rather tidy sum here. For CMAQ, we're looking at $45.8 million. For STBG, we have about $50.5 million for a grand total of $96.3 million in this funding round. This is the largest funding round StanCog has ever held. Next slide, please. Now, following precedent, StanCog programs a little bit off the top of CMAQ. These are for Transportation Demand Management Projects, or TDM. These are federally adopted projects that are considered control measures for being able to reduce emissions. The 2 federally approved projects here are Stan RTA's rideshare program and our very own Stannis Cruise rideshare program. Stan RTA is asking for a total of $800,000 over the 4-year period, and Stannis Cruise is asking for $1 million a year for a total of $4 million. So that's 4.8 out of the CMAQ distribution that we are planning to program off the top, leaving $41 million for competitive. Next slide, please. Now, much like CMAQ, for STBG, we also program a little bit off the top. This is for something called Planning, Programming, and Monitoring, or PPM. This essentially helps pay for the administration of these programs, for the running of the FTIP, for making sure that all of the federal programs that we run are taken care of here. Or you could say it is what pays the salary for Jose Luis and I. We are asking for $200,000 in a year, which is a slight bit above what we asked for last time, just accounting for inflation, for a total of $800,000 out of the 4 years, leaving $49.7 million in the competitive pot. Next slide, please. So again, looking back at the feedback we received during the workshops, we determined that because this funding round is so big, we're going to break the project applications into categories to compete similarly scoped projects against each other. We don't want an interchange competing against a bike lane project. This is similar to what the California Transportation Commission does for its funding rounds through programs such as the Active Transportation Program. This proposed breakdown we have was reached through consensus with all of our stakeholders after several months of discussion. Part of that discussion, we settled on a max request per application. So for the large category, you can apply for up to $5 million. And for the small category, you can apply for up to $2 million, trying to keep those similar scoped projects in proper categories here. We also agreed upon an application cap of 3 large projects total and 5 small projects total. So for example, in the large category, let's say the city of Modesto applied for 1 large STBG project and 2 large CMAQ projects. Totally fine, adds up to 3. We could say Stan RTA wants to apply for 3 large CMAQ projects. Also okay, adds up to 3. Now, if we assume all applications are for the maximum amount available, this could fund a potential of 4 large STBG projects, 10 small CMAQ projects, and 15 small STBG projects. For large CMAQ, we're looking at 2 to 4, and that's due to an exception that we'll get more into on the next slide here. Next slide, please, Josie. So the 2 exceptions here that we have to that previous table. First, we are allowing the city of Turlock 1 additional large and 1 additional small application. That's because the city of Turlock is both a municipality and a transit provider, and so it would be unfair to limit them to just the base amount. This only applies, of course, if the city does apply for both transit and non-transit projects. That exception regarding the large CMAQ, that exception regarding the large CMAQ projects was in reference to transit operating assistance. This is funding that can be used on new or expanded transit operations. We can't use CMAQ towards existing transit operations because we have to show that reduction in emissions from what it is currently. If we fund what we're already doing, there's no reduction. So we're offering a maximum of $3 million in operating assistance per year for a maximum of 3 years. That means no transit operator may receive more than $9 million total in operating assistance. That limit does not apply to capital projects, just operations. For example, well, one operator might be able to come in and say, we want $2 million for 2 years, totally fine. However, if an operator comes in asking for $1 million over 5 years, that would break the time cap, therefore would not be allowed. Next slide, please, Josie. Some additional changes we included. Once again, due to the scope of this funding round, we are expanding our scoring committee. Traditionally, we have a 7-member committee. We are now expanding that to 1 member from each eligible agency, so we will have 14 members on this scoring committee. StanCog will have 1 evaluator and 1 meeting facilitator. Facilitator doesn't score, just make sure that the meeting stays on track. We will also maintain the precedent that no evaluator will score their own project, and they will be asked to fully recuse themselves from the virtual room when we're discussing their project. Based off of feedback we received from some of the agencies, tiebreakers have been added. For the CMAQ application specifically, the additional criteria section is now project narrative. This gives agencies a better place to describe their project and all the additional benefits it might have beyond just air quality. For both applications, we have clarified project readiness and commitment to complete. That's based off of some feedback we received in our local carbon reduction funding round. Got a little confusing for some applications. And for STBG specifically, we provided clarification on what counts as regional priority, and we added local priority, meaning that if your project is of significant local importance, it's part of a capital improvement program or a short-range transit plan, that can score you a few extra points. Next slide, please, Josie. So what changed between the draft and the final? Not a whole lot. The main thing that we changed was just clarifying transit operating assistance is only for new or expanded transit service in line with federal regulations. Beyond that, all of the other changes were mostly related to phrasing and grammatical issues. You can find a track changes version of the guidelines on the website, and there's also a clean version which will be considered the final once adopted. Next slide, please. Now looking at the schedule at a glance here. We are here in April. We are taking the guidelines to the policy board for adoption, and assuming that they adopt the guidelines, we will release the call for projects the very next day. Our agencies have requested a 5-month call for projects, largely due to the scope of the call once again. And so project applications will be due September 19th. We will convene the scoring committee in October and November, and we will take our programming recommendation back to you and to the policy board in December. Projects will be amended into the FTIP in January of 2026, at which time the agencies can start obligating that funding. Next slide, please, Josie. And with that, I would like to reiterate, we are asking for your recommendation tonight to the policy board to adopt these guidelines. At this time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from the members? Go ahead, Ivan.
Yes, you mentioned these programs are the CMAC, and you said the, what's it called, STMBG. They are federal programs.
Yes.
So I understand that within what I heard the news with the current presidential administration having cuts to federal agencies and programs, and I just want to know if these cuts that the administration is making will affect the funding for these programs.
Excellent question. So right now, these are considered formula programs and not discretionary programs, so they're safe for now. Most of what the administration has been going after what are the discretionary grant type programs. So these are given out on a formula basis to the states, and then the states give it out to us as the regions, and we program as we go along. There is the potential that this funding could be rescinded, especially as the current transportation bill is up for renewal in 2026. That is also why we are looking at a 4-year call for projects. We want to make sure we are programming all of this money in and we have it assigned to projects, so then that way it won't get pulled back by the federal government.
Melissa?
Okay, my question is in regard to the Stannis cruise. We did get a summary of that from Jean just a few minutes ago. And so I was curious, it looks like there's $1 million per year budgeted for that program. What are other expenses aside from the prizes and the app for that program?
Excellent question. So actually, the Bike Month program is one of the smaller parts of Stannis Cruise. The larger part is there's a whole app that helps to track how you share your rides, and then being able to go in and basically encourage people to carpool. One of the biggest aspect of the program, though, is the van pool. We sponsor van pools through Enterprise to be able to help people get to the Bay Area for work or out to the Tesla factory. We actually hold one of the largest van pool programs in the state. We're operating, I believe, I'm afraid Jean's no longer on, otherwise I'd ask her. I believe we are operating currently 80 van pools a day. I think we're bumping that up to 100 by the end of the year.
You're right, it's about 80, up from 50 this time last year. We think 100 this time next year, but it's hard to predict these things.
Yes, but imagine, each one of those is a van filled with at least 6 people going across over to the bay to help cut down on how many cars are going across, the Altamont. I believe our second most popular route is up to Stockton as well. So we are looking at different ways we can help get people to their jobs, especially the super commuters here in Stanislaus.
Great, I hadn't heard about that program. And so is all that information available on the Stannis Cruise website? How would a citizen find out about that and get access to that service?
Yes, so most of that information is on the Stannis Cruise website, and they have the option to sign up for, you can be a van pool driver or a van pool rider through that program.
Okay, thank you.
So I actually had a couple of questions myself. On the large project, small project value amounts, you did mention that all of the stakeholders are agreed upon those limits. The only reason I ask is it says $5 million doesn't go as far as it used to. So I could see where it could be hindering to some projects if a jurisdiction had one that was a little bit more than that there's, how, I just want to make sure that they were all in favor.
Yes, and actually it was funny because when we opened discussion on that in the workshops, we were originally envisioning a $10 million cap because we
Okay.
figured, oh, let's go after the really big
Kind of where
projects.
where my brain went.
And then actually the several of the larger jurisdictions came back and they go, no, we only want 5 because the administration of that much funding becomes a bit of a burden for the planning and engineering departments.
Okay.
And so they were looking at it as what can we knock out that's bigger, but maybe not the really big stuff.
Okay, so this is kind of hitting that mid sweet spot for them.
Right.
Okay.
There are a few bigger projects that are being looked at. I won't disclose who said what yet, just because I don't want to scare anyway, but there are some agencies that are looking at some bigger projects as well.
And then my next question was, has there any concern, as I kind of think about this funding round, about collusion among the stakeholders as far as what affects Oakdale and Riverbank is going to have there's a closeness to them that isn't going to affect Turlock, or so that they could be voting on each other's projects that mean something more to their community because it's in close proximity when you're doing the rankings. I don't know if that made sense or not.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's also why we are bumping up the amount of scorers on the
Okay.
evaluation committee, because we want to make sure we're preventing that. That said, I will say, from our past funding rounds, everyone has been extremely fair.
Okay.
As much as they want to say like, oh, well, we know that this was going to benefit our friend, we have to be fair.
Okay.
We have to look at it through a critical eye, you know.
Okay. That was just my concern. I want to make sure that is taking place because when I look at communities like Patterson, which I guess previously worked out, even Turlock, where they may not get the same weight because of they're out of proximity to others, where like Ceres and Modesto have more synergy and things. Okay. That answers all of my questions. Any additional questions?
I'm good, thank you.
So with that, I will entertain a motion. If somebody would like to make one.
Yeah, I move, we approve item 6A. Make the motion to recommend the policy board adopt what's listed in 6A.
We have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Ivan. Josephine, if you'll do the honors of the roll call.
Chair Ford,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dynan,
Aye,
Member Kelly,
Unfortunately, I did not read those guidelines. I will abstain.
and Member Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, you have a 3-0 vote. The motion, 3-0 vote, motion passes.
Thank you, Josephine. All right. Moving on to item B. Blake, I do believe this one's also to you.
It is, and I promise this item is not deja vu. Can we have the next slide, Josie? It's going to look very similar here. So we just talked about the guidelines, and part of that guidelines was those projects off the top that we were talking about. So what we're going to be asking from you is your recommendation to the policy board to go ahead and program that funding that has already been set aside. Next slide, please, Josie. So just as a reminder, out of CMAC, we are looking at the 2 TDM projects. This is Stannis Cruise and Stan RTA's rideshare for a total combined of 4.8 million. Next slide, please. And out of STBG, this is the planning, programming, and monitoring for StanCog, 200,000 a year for 800,000 total. Next slide, please. And here are those 3 requests together. The reason we are asking for this is, again, just to be proactive in our programming, make sure that we are getting this into the FTIP and reserved ahead of time. And then that way, that money is available to be drawn down as necessary. And with that, again, we are asking for a recommendation to the policy board to allow us to go ahead and program these. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the members on this item? To me, this one seems fairly clear. And with that, I will go ahead and make the motion myself to recommend that the policy board approve the resolution of the program of special projects defined in the federal fiscal year 2027 to 2030 funding guidelines exempt from the call for projects. Do I have a second?
second,
Josephine, if you'll do the roll call, please.
Chair Ford,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dynan,
aye,
Member Kelly,
Aye.
and Member Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, you have a 4-0 vote. The motion passes.
Thank you, Josephine. And with that, we will move on to item C, which looks like it goes to Blake again.
I don't know what it is, but I feel like every time I come up to speak, it's always 3 in a row lately.
Well, actually, I was going to say it's either all yours or all Jose Luis's. It's been one way or the other. I have noticed that pattern.
We trade off, you know. We want to make sure you don't get tired of one of our voices, you know. So the last few items we talked about a new funding round and how we're going to be putting this money towards new projects. This update that we're going to be showing you today is talking about 2 programs we just finished. And so we get to talk about the exciting part, spending the money on these good projects. Next slide, please, Josie. One more, please. So this update includes 2 funding rounds that we recently closed and brought to the policy board last month. These are for the Active Transportation Program, or ATP, and the Local Carbon Reduction Program, or Local CRP. Next slide, please. We'll take these one at a time, and we'll start off here with the ATP. So the Active Transportation Program, or ATP, is a program to fund bicycle and pedestrian improvements. This program has 2 subprograms. One is run at the state level and one is run at the regional level. And of course, StanCog runs our own regional program. Originally, we received $3.5 million from the state to run this program. However, due to legislative changes to the state budget, our fund estimate was reduced in August to about $1 million. Unfortunately, that doesn't go quite as far as we'd like, but hey, we still had a very successful funding round. All of our regional applicants in this past round, we asked them to apply to the state program first before they were eligible to apply for regional. We want to make sure if these projects are coming in with a strong application, they're going after that state money and competing at the state level, and then they come to us after. Next slide, please, Josie. So how did we do as a region? Well, we had 7 applications submitted to the state, and hey, one of them was funded. This was the Church Street Mobility Improvements Project in the community of Empire. This is going to provide sidewalks, curb, gutter, bike lanes, all down Church Street, and is going to dovetail really nicely with this this project that's going to be done by Caltrans along 132 Yosemite. We're going to be able to provide some really safe streets there for the people of Empire, so they're no longer walking in the street to be able to get to school, to church, or to various amenities in the community. Now, out of the 6 remaining projects, 4 applications were submitted to StanCog. 2 of them did not apply to our regional program. Both of these projects were significantly larger than $1 million, unfortunately. We have discussed with the host agencies. They agreed that they did not want to apply for only $1 million, but we will be working with them to figure out different ways to fund their projects. Both were very strong applications. Next slide, please, Josie. So our scoring committee met, reviewed all of the projects and made recommendations. And so we have 2 projects here that we were proposing to fund and the policy board adopted. Our top scoring project was the City of Waterford's Safe Routes to School along Washington Road for $845,000. And our other project is the City of Waterford's Active Transportation Plan for $184,000, not just 184. This plan is not fully funded. It still needs about $240,000. However, the city is working to secure the remaining funding, potentially through a Caltrans planning grant. We should be hearing back in the next month or so on that. Those 2 projects together bring us exactly to the amount that we were given from the state. Next slide, please, Josie. Going to take a moment just to highlight our top scoring project here. The Safe Routes to School Washington Road is going to provide improvements on Washington, Rainway, and Pasadena in the city of Waterford. This is going to provide safe access to 3 schools along Rainway, which include Waterford High School, Lucille Whitehead Intermediate School, and Richard Moon Primary School. The schools along Rainway are split by 132, making it rather dangerous for students to get to school. And unfortunately, back in 2011, it was the site of a student fatality. This project is going to be providing some of those last key safety improvements that Waterford has been incrementally implementing over time here. Now, this project area is the primary route to Waterford High School and to Waterford Plaza, which is the popular after-school hangout for most of the students in the city. The picture here is at the intersection of Washington and Rainway. We are looking east. The high school is behind us. Students will often walk through the orchard or in the roadway here. We actually toured this facility as part of our ATP workshop with CTC and Caltrans, and it happened to be after those torrential rains of last winter. And so we got to see students actually trying to walk through some of the mud and wade through the water to get to the safer areas of the road here so that they could walk home. The improvements that are going to be made as a part of this project include over 1,700 linear feet of sidewalks, 8 crosswalks, 12 ADA compliant ramps, and 2 street lights. Roads are going to be widened and reclassed to Class 3 bike routes. And once again, this is one of the final components in Waterford's safety vision plan. Yes?
Well, all of that's going to get done for $845,000?
Yes. They are really leveraging their money there. So, next slide, please, Josie. The CTC requires us to provide a contingency list as well, just in case any project is unable to be funded. For our contingency list, we have Waterford's Safe Routes to School on Welch Street and the City of Surrey's Morrow Village pedestrian safety improvements. A quick note about Welch Street, you may notice that that score technically puts it as the number 2 project. After discussions with the City of Waterford staff, they determined that the remaining $184,000 would not really be helpful to a $900,000 project. Additionally, if they accepted that money, they would be barred from applying for additional ATP funding in the future. And so it was determined that the plan was the much more flexible choice here. For Ceres Morrow Village, we're going to put a pin in that. That was actually partially funded through our other funding program. And so next slide, please, Josie. Oh, here we are, moving on to a local carbon reduction program. This is a relatively new funding source that was created through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We had the opposite happen to us with this funding program. Originally, we were told we would get about 4.5 million, and Caltrans actuals came in and they realized that they were above our estimates, so we got bumped up to 0.9 million. 2 years of that are still in estimates, so we may see a little bit more money coming in over time here. For our guidelines in this project, we required all projects to be focused on active transportation improvements and be ready to start work by June 2026, whether that is pre-engineering, right-of-way, or construction. We received 8 applications in this funding round. Next slide, please. Once again, the scoring committee met, reviewed all the projects, and made a recommendation for the following 6 projects, which were approved by the policy board. These are the City of Modesto's Klaus Road Corridor Enhanced Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements, the City of Turlock's Golden State Boulevard improvements, 2 phases there, one from Dells to Pedras and the other from Pedras to Tuolumne. The City of Patterson's Las Palmas Safety Corridor, City of Oakdale's G Street Bike and Pen improvements on 4th to East, and the City of Surrey's Eloise and Dale Avenue sidewalk. This is a portion of that Morrow Village project that was funded. Next slide, please, Josie. Once again, let's highlight the top scoring project here. This is the City of Modesto's Klaus Road Corridor, which was previously funded in our fiscal year 25 and 26 funding round for STBG. The funding that they received from the local carbon reduction program helps to expand the scope on this project to include greater improvements to safety and active transportation in the area near Johansson High School and the greater Klaus Road area. This picture is at Creekwood and Klaus. You'll notice that there is no crosswalk on the north side here. Improvements are going to include sidewalk bulb outs and pedestrian median islands. Additionally, just out of range of this photo, there's a significant break in the Class 4 bike system. They're going to close that gap and provide safer access to the northern neighborhoods so that kids can get to school much more quickly and safely. Next slide, please. For local CRP, we also created a contingency list just in case we do end up with a little bit of extra funding. These projects are the City of Ceres, Joy, Charlotte, Lilac, and Camellia Sidewalk, which is another portion of that Morrow Village project, and the City of Patterson's Cliff Swallow El Soyo Class 1 Trail. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so next steps. These projects are already amended into the FTIP. They are ready to draw down their money as soon as the cities are ready to go. We have submitted our final package to CTC for the ATP projects. I'm actually going to be meeting with them next week just to clear up any discussion on that. That will go to the CTC at their June meeting, and they will approve our programming recommendation. And we hope to have City of Waterford come in immediately after and say, we want our money, like right as the next item, if we can get away with it. For local CRP, we are required to send all of our projects up to Caltrans headquarters just to make sure it aligns with the state's vision for carbon reduction. And I'm proud to say they've all been approved. And so the cities are ready to start moving on that. City of Patterson and City of Oakdale are already planning to obligate their projects before the end of the fiscal year. Next slide, please, Josie. And that brings me to the end of this update. Be happy to take questions.
Thank you for that great presentation, Blake. Any questions from any of the members? Melissa?
My question is on the Morrow Village project in Ceres. I see that there has already been bids collected, I guess, here on phase 2. Those were due in 2023. So my question is, this funding here for the 8.779 million, Is that for a subsequent phase, or is this for the bids already
Yeah.
collected?
Yeah, my understanding is that it's a subsequent phase of the project. I believe that the bids that were collected were for the pre-engineering work, and this is for construction.
Okay.
Though, since they weren't funded for ATP, they're looking at breaking the project into more bite-sized chunks, and that's why we have the Eloise and Dale, and then they're going to be doing the Joy, Charlotte, Lilac separately.
Separately. Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions on this item? All right. Well, thank you for that. I don't have any questions on this one, but I do appreciate the report. So this moves us on to item number 7. Are there any management reports? Luis?
Yes, well, also I'd like to maybe do a little back and forth. My first question is, how interested are you guys in learning more about kind of the threats that we're assessing to federal transportation funding? Because I heard, Ivan, you asked about, kind of the stuff we've been hearing in the news, and Blake gave you an answer, but it was sort of a basic answer. We have a lot more information about that if that's something you would like me to report on.
I think that'd be interesting.
So before I do that, the reason Blake presented all those items is we believe in having the planner who did the work present their own work. Blake has been doing a ton of work for this agency. Those guidelines that you saw, this is the largest funding round we've ever done, 96 million. We're a 30 million per funding round agency. We've always been a 30 million per funding round agency. But Blake and I, together with all the local agencies, we recognize that we weren't programmed out far enough. We're supposed to have like a 4-year, at minimum, list of projects that have federal funds committed to them. That allows our local agencies to start environmental knowing that their construction funds are waiting for them, to have some sort of idea of what they're going to be doing today, tomorrow, and the next day. It's planning. In fact, it's less than planning, it's programming. Planning's out 20 years. Programming is like, I know I have the money, let's get going on the project. Without this funding round, we're actually only programmed through the year 26. That's 2 years. That's this year and the next year. That is, the state programs 5 years for the STIP. Regions are supposed to program 4 years. Caltrans, with all their highways, they're programmed out 10 years. They know what they're doing today, tomorrow, and for like the whole next decade. There's a bridge program. They know all the bridges they're doing for the next 15 years. We know what we're doing for the next 2 years. And then, has anyone ever worked in like restaurant service industry? Maybe? No? All right. When you go to, there's like a Seinfeld bit where he goes to reserve a rental car, or goes to get his rental car, and it's not there for him. He reserved it, but it wasn't there for him. He's like, oh, there's this whole bit about, you know how to take a reservation, but you don't know how to actually reserve it. In a bunch of industries, we have this perception that, like, if you reserve a table for dinner, they put a little placard on that table, and no one gets to sit there until you show up. But they count on a certain number of people not showing up for reservations. So they overbook their tables. So usually when you go to dinner and your table's not ready, it's not because the other people are taking too long or whatever excuse they give you. It's because they overbooked and they don't want to tell you. But literally every time a restaurant can say, sorry, we overbooked and everyone showed up, so please wait for a little bit. Similarly, we learned in airlines that they do this too. They overbook. And that's when you hear the announcements, hey, can someone fly on a later flight? If no one takes that announcement, we found out that they'll drag a person off of United Airlines because they overbook. As a region, we're supposed to be overbooking. We're supposed to have a whole bunch of projects programmed out so that if our earlier projects fail to deliver, we can call on these other projects. In fact, at my previous job, we didn't wait for projects to fail to deliver. We had like a free-for-all period of 3 months, and then if you didn't come in the first 3 months of the year, it was all fair game. So someone could come in and start their project even if you were programmed in year 1. We can't do that when we only have 2 years worth of projects. So we did our largest funding round, which is double, plus we found old money, and Blake has been running the workshops, gathering the feedback. Not all of our local agencies agree all the time, or they might say something one meeting and then change their mind the next meeting. Blake has been following and tracking all that, providing excellent customer service with the goal that if we can have a multi-year program, we're less likely to lose money. So I'm going to transition. So thank you, Blake. So he ran the carbon reduction program funding round, he ran the active transportation program funding round, and he's running the CMAC and RSTP funding round. Okay, so there's different ways we can lose federal money. But before you talk about how you lose it, you almost have to talk about how you get it. So when you do a federally funded project, I think there's this idea that if a city gets federal funds to do a project, they put their city staff out there and they go and build it. No, almost nothing gets built by government agencies in California. They bid it out to the private industry, and private contractors go and bid to do construction projects, or even they provide the engineering and right-of-way assistance. We're a state that uses government funds for private companies to go do the work, and we go with the lowest bids, lowest acceptable bids. And that work is paid for with taxpayer dollars on a reimbursement basis. So if you want to go do a project, first you got to go find those federal dollars. We're a giver of federal dollars. And then like an MPO has to award your agency federal dollars like they will at a policy board meeting. Then you go into a list of who's whos. It's a program. Our program is called the Federal Transportation Improvement Program. The word program is overused in our industry, but it's a list of all the projects with funding. So once you're on the list, you're programmed. Then you get to go submit permission to start reimbursable work. And when that gets approved, then you get this permission from the federal government. It's a contract basically saying you can start work, and that money is sitting in the federal treasury ready for you to ask for reimbursement. And you have our guarantee that as long as that work is eligible and part of the contract, we're going to pay you back all that money. So the goal, if you're trying to not lose federal funds, is to get to that contract, get that signed agreement with the federal government. At that point, they can't withhold your money. And here's the catch. We actually found in some cases in the administration, they were trying to withhold money on contractual obligations. Not in the transportation sector. I think this was in maybe refugee sort of sector. To withhold federal funding on a contract is considered illegal. I guess a court would decide whether it's illegal or not. That's a fault in a contract. And if that happened to us, we would be legally in the right to go take the federal government to court and say, you signed it, please pay us our money. So I digress. So I think if it's obligated, then it's safe. If it's not obligated, it is not safe. So right now, we have approximately $40 million in CMAC and STBG funds sitting in the federal treasury that belong to California, were given to StanCog, and that is within our kind of control. This money should not exist. It should have been programmed and obligated to projects. It's weird because on the Measure L side, we don't have a lot of money. We're spending that as fast as we can to advance the Measure L program. So Blake and I, we discovered this very early on. And the solution to this is to hurry up and program it to projects and get them to obligate. If we could just give it out on a formula basis, we would. Cities, counties, here's how much roads, transit, we just get it out the door because we have plenty of worthy projects in our region. Unfortunately, we don't have a list saying which projects are worthy and who should get how much. And we're not allowed to give out stuff, our taxpayer dollars on a formula basis. We have to use performance measure driven process. And the best process we found so far that complies is a competitive funding round. So Blake and I wanted to give out 4 years of funding like last round. That would have been the very first time anyone did a competitive funding round. You ever played a board game for the first time? You don't know the rules. You're like, you have no idea who's going to win, but probably the person who's reading the rules is going to be the one that wins because the rest of us are barely paying attention. Imagine the first time you play a board game, someone's like, hey, you want to make this interesting? How about let's play for $100 a person? You'd be like, no, why would I do that the very first time? How about we play this game once, and then I can decide whether to place a bet. We were asking them to bet 4 years worth of money on the first time doing a funding round. And rightfully, they said no, and respectfully, we agreed, okay, no. We said the next round, 4 years, and they said, we'll see. So that's what this is it's our goal to get money to projects. Now, I just said two things that kind of don't make sense. We're programming future year money, 27, 28, 29, and 30, but we have past year money. So what's happened is over the years, projects have had cost savings, and we haven't turned around and given it back out in a funding round. Or we would program based on estimates, but then the actuals would come in and they'd be higher, and we never went and adjusted. So this kind of has gone on for 20 years, such that we have almost $30 million worth of money that we could have programmed out a while ago that's been building. This funding round programs old money and future money. But nothing in this presidential administration is jeopardizing that. What we're worried about is a sort of use it or lose it policy. That if you have federal money and you don't use it, federal government goes, then you must not need it. We'll find other worthy transportation projects in other parts of the United States that can use these projects, use this funding. So how do you liquidate all this funding out? And the answer is you have to have projects. So we're very nervous about money that we have that's not yet obligated. How do you get it obligated? You got to get it programmed. We only have 2 years worth of projects programmed. We do not have a deep bench. So we're trying to develop a much deeper bench. But all these actions, they feel so slow when we see an administration that's acting so quickly. So the question is, when might this risk take place? 2026, not almost surely, but very likely we could see like a sweeping up of funds. At the end of 2026, this current Transportation Act expires. They do another one. It's like a 4-year or 6-year act. And what they typically do is they look back at the old act, see money that wasn't spent. Maybe it was a program that seemed like a good idea at the time, but didn't really pencil out. They'll go and sweep up funds not used from that program in order to pay for future things. And they don't care if all that funding comes more from one state or another, or more from one region than another. They'll just swoop it up. So we feel like our region, our voters, our taxpayers are entitled to these taxpayer dollars that came to StanCog. And we feel like it would be morally wrong to let this funding just get swept up for lack of use. We're trying to find creative ways to program it quickly. So far, this is our best, but we're working on worst case scenarios of how if we were told that the money was swept up in 3 weeks, 3 days, or 3 months, what actions might we do? And there are some options. None of them are as lovely as just doing a funding round, picking good projects, and having them deliver. So that's a little bit of, how we might lose money. There's this other idea, which is we don't actually know what will be the next Transportation Act. These dollars in 2027, 28, 29, and 30, they don't exist in any congressional law. They're what we think our region would get in the future. They're an estimate. It's possible that a future administration could say, Service Transportation Block Grant Program, we don't like it. We don't even like the acronym. They could give it some clever name. They could change the formula of it. CMAC, they could get rid of it. They could do it some other way. But still, there's this commitment that the taxes that motorists pay at the pump be returned back to states somewhat kind of percentage-wise equivalent. So California, and we think our region, would still see our taxes come back to us in the years 27 through 30. But it could be through a different set of programs. It could be through a different sort of formula, a different sort of way. So we're still planning on funding coming to the region. And we have to, because that's the only way you get projects done, is by coming with estimates and plans and implementing. Thank you for listening to kind of my long sort of story of how funding could be lost.
No, thank you. I found that very intriguing, so personally.
That's my management report.
What?
That's my management report.
Okay. Any questions on that? No. Any additional management reports? Any member report?
I just want to report that the North County corridor proceeds, and we think, really take off this month.
Right.
The beginnings, we'll be able to start seeing the beginning of the beginnings.
One thing I did want to report on myself, I'm not sure how much this organization is involved in the Virginia Corridor Trail. Was any of the funding for that?
So there wasn't any funding for it in these past funding rounds, but going back to the 25-26 CMAC and STBG, there was some funding that was on the roundabout at College and Bowen, which linked into the Virginia Corridor Trail.
Okay. And, just the reason I ask is I know that there's a project in the works to extend the Virginia Corridor trail over. Which street is that? We go down. Another overpass. Goes over Brigsmore already. There's one going over Brigsmore if you go down further. Prescott? I may go down all the way to Prescott. So I'm just hearing a lot of chatter from people I know that they're excited about that project. So
Okay.
when it comes to bike trails and walking trails, it does matter to people. I guess that's the point to be made there.
Sure. We've been hearing certain agencies have been looking at large CMAC projects in this next round, so maybe that's one of them. I don't know.
Just wanted to report on that. So unless there's anything else, I will go ahead and call tonight's meeting. Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
At the last meeting, we had an update on the Measure L from Jean, and I had asked if, noting that there was no funds allocated for a couple of items. One of them was community connections. And I asked whether or not Dan Cog was aware of the TRIP master plan update, which is the Tuolumne River Regional Park master plan update that they are doing. They're right in the process of almost having a fully approved master plan update, which is exciting. But one thing that they have kind of a hole in is that those very same things, community connections, getting people on and off those pedestrian and biking trails. So at the last meeting I attended, I got a chance to chat quickly with Supervisor Graywall and mentioned to him that that these conditions I just explained and asked if there's any way of working together, being that SANCOG has some funds there for that very item, if those can maybe be, any of those funds can be put towards that direction.
Oh, for sure. And I'll speak until Jose Luis throws something at me, but the Community Connections program under Measure L, that would be a fantastic fit, but I believe those funds are distributed through a competitive call process as well as outlined in the expenditure plan. I would need to double check with Jean if we're preparing to do one of those calls, but that would be a good fit for it. If Measure L isn't available at this time, or we're holding off on doing the call for a little bit longer, though, CMAC is an option, and perhaps the county or Modesto could look into applying for CMAC funding to assist with providing that gap closure on the system.
Okay, I'll just give you one specific example of where it could apply, which is the Lion Bridge update that you're all doing. That pedestrian trail runs right below it. So why not connect the bridge, the pedestrian part of the bridge, and get those people off the bridge onto the trail? It'd be perfect.
Oh yeah, no, it would be a fantastic fit.
Yeah, so I'll add, the last time I looked, the Community Connections account, it's small. You could be looking at the expenditure plan, which shows how much it'll get through the life of Measure L, but we're only a handful of years into Measure L, and they already did a programming round once. It doesn't actually have to be competitively done, but the policy board of the whole region will have a strong opinion about where this very small pot of money gets spent. We don't have plans at this time to do a call for projects for community connections. I would love to see one, but frankly, the pot needs to probably grow a little bit so that there's enough to do maybe a couple projects. But the $96 million funding round is big. And there's money there for 2 million CMAC apps, 5 million CMAC. And 5 million might be more than Community Connections has at all. So who would be the lead agency for implementing that project? Is that the county?
Parks Department, Nathan Hout,
Okay.
H-O-U-X, I believe. I can get you his contact.
Right.
He's a director of planning for Parks and Rec, I believe.
Yeah. So I can call him, and the way it would work is, I believe he would work through the county or whichever jurisdiction they're located in to submit an application. So, and then it really depends on lots of things, right? Because that jurisdiction might have other priorities for this funding round. But that's a solution. That's a path forward. So I'd be happy to follow up with Nathan, or I'll make Blake do it.
Also, I just realized Safe Streets for All might be a good fit. Do you think?
So Safe Streets for All is a federal discretionary grant program, the very types of programs that we've heard this administration talking about clawing back on. What's interesting is they did a call for projects on it. They didn't have to. They could have just sat on it. Federal commentators in the know think what this is sort of like an olive branch saying, no, 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 we do care about bicycle pedestrian projects. We don't see that as a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. So the Safe Streets for All they call it a notice of funding opportunity, or NOFO. It's out with a deadline, I think, of June something to apply.
Yes, June 26th.
So the catch is that you're supposed to have a Safe Streets for All plan, and then you can implement like I think you can get $25 million from this program if you have one of those plans. Last time I checked, the city of Modesto got money to do a plan, and like in 2024, they had a planning workshop of where projects might happen, but I don't think they actually have an approved plan. So we might not be eligible to go after capital projects for Safe Streets for All in our region. Maybe. So it's a trickier fun time, but anyone's eligible to go get money for a plan, and then you come back and try to get 25 million. So it's a funding opportunity open now. Modesto is the closest to being in a position to apply for it, but they have to show a prioritized list of projects. If they were smart, they would be planning on trying to approve that in June so that they could apply by June. But that might be a little too rushed for them.
Yeah. The good thing though with this program is that it's been annual for the past few years, so fairly good chance we would see it 26. It would still be within the current Transportation Act, so we might be able to see some more. And I believe this round has 950 million up for grabs.
Sounds right.
950 million up for grabs. So that could be an option.
It is. I still like CMAC because, hey, it's us. It's our region. Like, we know these projects and we have this money. There's no politics. It's just performance driven. You can tell how to get 100 points. Doesn't matter what political party you're in or whatever. So that's why I'm promoting that. But it really does matter if the local jurisdiction wants to apply for it or not. If they have other priorities, then they have other priorities.
All right, thank you. And I do enjoy the conversation, so, and the information. So, any other member reports? No, with that, I will go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.